If this brotherhood, if this fraternity feeling, if this compassion, if this radical love of what Ambedkar speaks binds us, then you will not see these politicians. Then we will stand up. If there is one life is disturbed there, they know because they have touched one of our brother and sister. And that fraternity is a trust we give to the fellow human being, saying that there is another human being alive. If we become one with this, if we are bound with this feeling of fraternity and compassion and empathy, you will not see them. They are dividing and ruling.
When we launched The Wire in 2015, it was because we knew that media freedoms in India were going to get more and more imperiled. And that the future of independent journalism in India lay in building or establishing a new social contract between journalists and editors on the one hand, and readers, viewers, and the wider citizenry on the other. You might well ask what the essence of this new social contract is. It's very simple. The contract envisages that we would boldly cover what is happening in the country without fear or favor, and that you would support us by reading, viewing, sharing, and financially sustaining this work. Today, The Wire is proud to have made its mark on the Indian media landscape as a key part of a vibrant ecosystem of independent media platforms that includes some legacy newspapers, many news websites, and a large number of gutsy freelance reporters, photographers, artists, cartoonists, and others who are striving to do their job of reporting what is happening in India under very, very difficult political and economic circumstances. So honestly, from my heart and on behalf of all of my colleagues, thank you, Bangalore, for being here with us and being part of this journey and committing to be on this road with us for the long haul. The theme that we have chosen for today is fraternity. This is a word that figures prominently in the preamble of the Constitution, alongside justice, liberty, and equality. But it is also a word that we often forget or ignore, even though its spirit is so central to who we are as a people. Fraternity, if you're looking for a pithy summation of what it stands for, is that magical element that assures each and every one of us our dignity as individuals, and which, in doing so, ensures our unity as a people and a nation. In 1949, when the text of the Constitution was being finalized, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar asked the Constituent Assembly a rhetorical question. What does fraternity actually mean? And he provided an answer with the following words, which I would like to read to you, because they really summarize not just the spirit of the times in which the Constitution was being written, but also what's happening in India today. Fraternity, said Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, means a sense of common brotherhood of all Indians, of Indians being one people. It is the principle which gives unity and solidarity to social life, but it is also a difficult thing to achieve. He goes on to say, I remember the days when politically minded Indians resented the expression, quote unquote, the people of India. They preferred to say the Indian nation. I am of the opinion, said Dr. Ambedkar, that in believing that we are a nation, we are cherishing a great delusion. How can people divided into several thousands of castes be a nation? The sooner we realize that we are not as yet a nation in the social and psychological sense of the word, the better for us. For then only we shall realize the necessity of becoming a nation and seriously thinking of ways and means of realizing the goal. In India, there are castes. The castes are anti-national. In the first place, because they bring about separation in social life. They are anti-national also because they generate jealousy and antipathy between caste and caste. But we must overcome all these difficulties if we wish to become a nation in reality. For fraternity can be a fact only when there is a nation. Without fraternity, equality and liberty will be no deeper than coats of paint. These were the words of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar in 1949. I quoted Dr. Ambedkar at length to remind ourselves that the fraternity word did not drop from the sky. The authors of the Constitution were the product of a great freedom struggle that the people of India fought against British rule, a rule in which the imperialists exploited our resources and labor and trampled upon our rights, making use of existing divisions and introducing new ones. That is why for Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and the members of the Constituent Assembly, and for the crores of people whose aspirations they sought to give voice to, placing fraternity on a pedestal means realizing that there can be no national unity or even a nation without ensuring the dignity of each and every individual. In other words, if you attack the dignity of an individual, whether on the pretext of their ethnicity or language, religion or caste, sexuality or food habits or beliefs, then you attack the very foundation of India. I want you to think about this when you reflect upon what is happening today in Manipur or Haryana or Kashmir. Think about this when you read about train passengers being shot dead because of the beard they had or the clothes they wore. Think about this the next time you see those leaders whose names were invoked to justify this crime, but who did not feel they needed to condemn what happened. Think about this when you look at laws which have introduced religion as a criterion for being able to live in this country for the first time in our 3,000-year-old history. Think about this when killers and rapists are set free because of their political affiliation. Think about this when women and men who have spent their entire lives fighting for the rights of the most disadvantaged Indians spend years in jail awaiting trial for imaginary crimes. Think about this the next time you see TV channels fostering hatred. And then remember that they cannot be allowed to define what India is or to determine how Indians should live and relate to each other. With these words, ladies and gentlemen, I once again welcome you to this edition of the Wire Dialogues. I'd now like to invite, because we're moving on to the dialogue stage of our program, I'd like to invite onto the stage Prakash Raj and Seema Chishti, the Wire's editor. This is as you all know, and of course he needs no introduction, Prakash Raj is a renowned and much awarded film and theatre personality whose work has enthralled audiences across several languages. I myself have seen his work in Hindi, Tamil, Kannada, and of course he's known to do his programs and films and theatre in other languages too. He is also a political activist who has walked the talk and contested the 2019 Lok Sabha election from the Bangalore Central Lok Sabha constituency. On social media, his hashtag just asking tweets have always raised sharp and pointed questions of those in positions of power. And when the Wire first thought of having a public event in Bangalore, his was the first and most obvious name for us to think of for this event, and we are so glad that he readily agreed to take part in this event. He agreed with the broad theme of what we are trying to do, which is to discuss the importance and place of fraternity. And he took time out of his very busy schedule to join us this evening. So a big round of applause to him, and thank you so much for being here, sir. And we will dispense with the formalities of memento since we have Doris on stage already. I'd like to present through Doris a set of books and the preamble of the Constitution framed.
Prakash Raj. My mother was your great admirer. She was longing and pining to meet you in person. Unfortunately, she passed away a few years back, but created this opportunity for me, her daughter, to be here and present this memento. I just saw outside, I used to tease my mom and say, Mom, how come you are Prakash's admirer? He's a villain. He's acting with Lakshmi as a villain. And you call, I was just teasing her. She says, no, don't see him as an actor. See him as a human being. Do you know what he does in so many villages? He's adopted. He's got a heart of gold. When you meet him, you tell him this, that to continue this great work. And we saw that this evening. He came early. He met all his fans, stood very nicely and allowed selfies. So, dear Prakash, you are not only, I'll try my Tamil a little, you are not only Chellam for your mummy and Pony Verma, and on every occasion on stage, you call all your fans Chellam. Today, all of us call you our Chellam. Clap. Thank you.
Thank you, Challam.
So very warm welcome to all of you and a very good evening. Namaskara, salams to everybody present. And on behalf of the Wire again, on behalf of all our spark plugs, the circuitry, the cables, the battery, the transformers that make our little but very inspired and inspiring team, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank you, Prakash Raj, for being here with us, for patiently kind of batting through the evening. He's been here, and as Doris remarked, shaken hands and been the celebrity and the much accessible kind of person, kind of interacting with all his fans, and he wants me to fast forward now, and the boss here. So, I mean, Prakash, as we all know, is an actor, but he's also a producer. He's one of the few stars who can act, and he's very attractive for that reason. So it's a very rare quality. He debuted in like early 90s, and his whole kind of stalking the creative landscape, through more than 3 decades in very persuasive ways. He's explored almost every kind of creative crack. He's not allowed any crack to go unexplored, whether it's acting, as a producer. He started with theatre and cinema, and now he has big experiments in creativity, which he's fostering in his Mysore engagement project, which makes him very interesting. Also, the fact that he crosses over so many languages, he jumps over all kinds of barriers, and seamlessly, it would appear. And he also does all kinds of roles. They could be kind of dark roles, dark comic roles, the good man, the hero as well. That's again a rare quality you find in stars. So as a powerhouse of creativity, as an actor and as a friend, we really welcome you, Prakash. So Prakash asked me a question, Abhi, sometime back about why me. A very small thing is Prakash kind of has jumped out of the silver screen and has never hesitated, whatever may be the cost of doing that and saying that, to have stuck it out and have spoken for politics and the right thing. Hence you, Prakash, because at a time like this, when you embrace the whole, you speak to all of India, and you use where you are, you use your perch, your pulpit, to say things that need to be said at such a difficult time, makes you like a permanent friend of the Wire. So thank you so much. So after that really long and meandering introduction, let's get to the heart of what we're meant to be discussing here, fraternity. What do you think is the problem, really? I mean, why are we discussing something? It was something that was boring, I remember in our NCRT textbooks, you'd have somebody with a topi, with a tilak, a guy with a hat who was meant to be presumably Christian, would be put together, Sardarji. And it would be like this very standard thing. We got bored of it almost. What went wrong? That is something that we're reaching out to find, the big F word, which we're dying to spell out and induce into India.
Because of one person who has named himself the F word, Fakir. Some Swatan Azadi ka Amrit Mahotsav. Such an irony that 70 years later we are realizing why the F word, fraternity. I just would like to recite a poem, roughly translated. The wounds on your body may bleed less with your silence. But the wounds inflicted on the society or the nation bleed more with your silence. That's where we are today. I don't know where we took the U-turn. Fraternity, yes. When Ambedkar ji and Kriplani, Nehru, Patel, they got it from French Revolution, the word fraternity. And in Indian context, it's bandhutva. But that has been the source, that has been the life source of humankind here. Like I go back to certain folklore. Now we have shepherds in North Karnataka where they graze their sheep. Their only enemy now, of course, modernization, a lot of things, but their major enemy is a wolf. But in the folklore, they don't kill the wolf. They say it has to take its 1/3 share. And they have a story within them, saying there are 3 brothers where 2 of them backstabbed one and he turned into a wolf and he is behind that sheep. But they call the enemy a brother. There is no other. Where did this U-turn happen today? We and you. See, fraternity is not a law. It cannot be a law. It is, Constitution preamble is a very book which is very alive. It is a way of life. It's that what Ambedkar says is radical love, the concern. I think we missed that humus which was very important. That we as citizens of this country, forget the politicians, they have used it for their vote banks and things like that. We as a country, we as human beings, we as evolving beings, we have lost it in our humus. And that's where these things come up, these questions. We are responsible because there is no fraternity among us. What is fraternity? Fraternity is to care, to love, beyond gender differences, beyond language, beyond how you look, what you wear. There is something, whatever caste, creed you are, but the base is that you breathe, you love, you dream. But we as a society has lost it. It cannot become a law to follow fraternity. It is this country, we the citizens have to understand. That is why, that is where it is, we have lost the plot. It's like when you go to nature, you talk about trees, growing trees. But growing trees, like she was talking about Kabir, it is the root. There is a big tree in a seed, but it needs the humus, it needs the land, it needs the ecosystem for it to sow and then grow. But it is not in us. Somebody's pain doesn't become our pain anymore. Like we say, there was only wonderful director, Shripad Bhatt was saying, if you cut your finger, it's your pain. But if Ekalavya's finger is cut, it is a society's pain. That is what we need to understand. It is like in this country, In this society, our own children, when you have your children, you feed them, but if there is a driver's son who comes, you don't equally see them at all. And that is fraternity. And that is where we have lost the plot. And it is time for us now to get that humus into us first. And that becomes a force. That because when that becomes us, like in France, if a boy is shot dead, a country rises because there is fraternity there. There is brotherhood. They own it. But it's not happening here. The problem is here.
No, I want to pick up on that. So, Prakash, of course, as F word is the theme, as it were, he comes from the other F, or the world of films, which I would really want to explore with you, because of the whole creative business of where fraternity kind of was enriched first and then lost. But if the world is Noah's Ark of it, or if it's like a big jungle, then India was meant to be a zoo. We've got kind of types of all animals, all creatures here, and we created a space for them in the Indian nationalism context, in 1950, which is completely different from what we were light years ahead of Europe, we were light years ahead of what was happening away. Where do you think we lost the plot? Did we get bored of it? I mean, at what point did kind of Amar Akbar Anthony turn into the Kerala story? So, I mean, whether you want to take it from a natural, because you mentioned a lot of the ecology, or cinema, I want you to reflect on that.
It was the most least discussed and misunderstood. It is in us, if you're talking about films and theatre. For me, I think a lot of people from theatre here, it's a perfect example of fraternity. Like when we create a play on stage, on theatre, that people from different walks, different thought process, we come. We come together to tell a story, to tell a truth. We have our differences. We negotiate. We talk it out. But the journey is to be one and tell one story. And it is not about our actions, it depends on the reaction of the people also. There is no we and you there. It is together. And like any game, it is not winning and losing, because even if one loses, the play loses. I think this is very fraternity for us. And for example, now Kavita is here, I've started an incubator called Nirdiganta. So I wanted to know how I'm going to intervene. And the very humus of theatre or humus of fraternity, this is the politics I wanted to do. So while coming back to theatre, they said, Prakash, will you come back as an actor? And I said, what is my relevance today, having grown or having experienced, having traveled a lot? My relevance is not to come back to theatre to act. It would be another play and people will say Prakash Raj acted well. And that was not my relevance, not to start a theatre group. Then I saw there's so many theatre schools which are giving diplomas, and what do those children do after that? I need to talk to the humus. That is the next generation. So in this, whatever the incubator, Nirdiganta means horizonless, that's from Kuvempu's lines. So we wanted to do a play and we picked up students who had passed out with diplomas, who had nowhere to go. And we picked around 15 of them, and boys and girls, and put them in one place. It's where they stay, there's a place to stay, there's eat and then rehearse. Then we asked them to write a play, and so we wanted to talk about communal violence and war and the impact of it, and not naming. And they came in and we gave them texts like we gave Pirandello's War, the play of the First World War, or Kuvempu's Kurukshetra, Smashana Kurukshetram for the Second World War, or Monto's stories and Hanur's Ajnata. And we brought in a lot of world poetry into them. And I was not into it. I just sat back, or Kavita came down, she sat back. A lot of us just sat back. And what formed today? They made a play out of it. They made a collage out of it. And now they are traveling. The 12 people, 15 people are traveling across the country. Every district they're doing a public performance, and they're sitting with the students and talking about violence. No names. We are talking about this fraternity. We are talking about this humus which we are creating. I think this is possible with theatre. But why is this not possible as a society among us is what is my question. And I think for this fraternity to be discussed, it has to become a way of life, and it has to first start with us. politicians talk. See, politicians are one against the other. It is like there's this beautiful characteristic of these wounds. The person who comes to heal us is the one who inflicts wounds again, isn't it? And they talk about fraternity today. Any political party, they talk about it. Now, I just look at it. COVID. There was all of us are the voters and citizens of this country, and any big leader comes to a speech or when there is election, they have enough buses and lorries, the MPs, to bring us to the venue of the speech or take people like sheep to the vote. But during COVID in this country, not even one MP used any of his lorries or buses. There's no fraternity, feeling of fraternity. They're using the so diverse things to divide us for those things. But it is for us to realize the importance of fraternity. And recently I was seeing a study when the Gujarat riots happened, and certain Muslims, people who were really, hurt and pained and so much of wounds, and they were complaining that, when those guys were hitting us, the Adivasis and the Dalits did not come in support of us. And there was a strong question asked to those Muslim brethren. I said, when that village denied drinking water because they were untouchables, did you go stand with them? Did you give your wells to them? And how do you expect that? And that is the fraternity which would have made us stand together, would have stopped this violence. So we have not understood fraternity. We have not brought it into our, as a way of life. And this is why we are seeing these.
So, fraternity as also encompassing empathy, camaraderie, comradeship, fellowship, all of that. That's really very, it seems like motherhood and apple pie, but it's so important and needs to be done. Do you think that there is a way in which this can be recovered now? What is the role? You spoke very well at some interview about we're partying on a sinking ship. So you may be having a damn good time, the music's good, the food's great, but the ship is sinking because the economy, everything else
it is like going in a bus, the driver who is driving, who's called by the F word, he knows where he is going, and we are playing Antakshari. He will jump. What will happen to us? The point is the brothers or sisters, the brotherhood of the people who we differ ideologically. I don't hate them. What I'm trying to tell them is, they have been busy making us fight and we are fighting. But the ship is sinking, we will both go down together.
So do you think we kind of didn't give too much importance in actually drilling down I hate to sound transactional, but the importance of fraternity? So like you have, like international...
No, we have not understood. Actually, it was there.
Yeah.
It is in our folkhood. That's the way of life we lived in. But where did we take the U-turn? Now we are talking about going to courts and digging mosques. I am trying to tell you, if you dig a mosque, there is chances of you will find a temple. But if you dig a temple, you will find a Buddhist shrine. Till where will you go? Civilization started by the riverbank. Now, a developed city, you erase it and dig down, you will see ruins. Will you go back? Or will you live in the present and reimagine the future? Where will you keep going? That is not supposed to be the evolution, right? That is not the way. So where have we taken the U-turn, not realizing that it was there? We were bound together because of fraternity. Where did we go wrong? Where did we take the U-turn?
So, international scientists, when they wanted to, there's a lot said about the war economy, but, the whole concept of a peace dividend came up with that. Look, there are economic good results if you have peace. Do you think we should have some kind of fraternity economics? Is it because people don't think there's a cost to me? That guy, it's happening to the cookie somewhere, or it's happening to some small minority tribe.
Again, if you are...
How does everyone develop a stake in it?
No. If we are compassionate, if we are understanding, then we will understand the hoax of the so-called Vishwaguru saying we'll be number one in economics. I want to know, where is love, where is that care, where is fraternity in your whole economic growth? You want to export. At whose cost? Why is 1% richer than the 99%? Whose sweat? You get money, you say number one economy, but at whose cost? People who have struggled, who have worked. There are children going without food. basic health care. Fraternity would have questioned it, would have brought us together. Like Black Lives Matter, fraternity would have stood, no, you can't. You can't hit him. If you hit him, it's eating me. Because this is the bond we want. That is why this is. We have let this happen because we have not realized the importance of fraternity.
So it sounds like an odd thing to say, but do you think the time has come to like fight for fraternity? It has to be actively kind of, it can't just be a touchy-feely kind of thing, but it's a principle that we need to now really kind of cement.
It has to
fight
be
for.
a way of life. If you continue this, even the liberty word, L word, justice word will become rare itself. Because Ambedkar said what he said, that without fraternity, they're just coats of paint. And he has said something so beautifully, it is very difficult, but you have to cultivate it. But what are we cultivating today? Or what are we letting people cultivate today? Hatred has come home. Your WhatsApp groups, your media, blaring. See, every man has dirt, violence, and both. And as an evolution, we are trying to tame that violence down, right? But how is that coming out? Because we have not understood brotherhood, bhaichara. We are not able to realize that it's our pain. They'll come to him, but they may come to me too. That's exactly what is happening.
Pastor Niemöller, they
And
came for
again,
the-
you see this whole story in the nature too. Monoculture doesn't work. You see India like this. We. Just look at these two seas and look at Goa, come to Mangalore, Karwar, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Bengal. Fish is from the same sea, but it is so diverse in taste, the masalas they use. We have to live together like this. We need to celebrate diversity, but they say monoculture, one religion. If you're a nation, you'll have to follow this. It doesn't work like that. It is a 5-layer forest, right? There is a big tree, then how much sunlight it can take, and all of them live together. And that is the human. You are not away from nature. It's not me and you. You are nature. You are part of nature. You can't separate it. And you see that beauty of fraternity among them. There is no enemy there. There is a brotherhood with an enemy. Wolf is a brother. A tiger is a brother. That is how it should be. So where did we get the U-turn? When there is so much in front of us, when it was there, that was what bound us together. Culturally, with our folklore, with the reason to live. But where did we get the U-turn? We need to understand that because we have not realized, we have not made it. It is not a law to follow. It is a way of life. That's why he said cultivate. It's a beautiful word.
It's
Cultivate.
nourishment, yeah. Prakash, a lot of us, I don't know how many of you do it, but I do it, that even in a bad film, I just really wait for the roller to go up. And it's sort of, I'm quite emotional about it because you have names you wouldn't see otherwise coming up all together. And you realize a 3-hour or even a 2-hour short film is a collective enterprise of so many people coming together. So I find that like quite inspirational. Also, cinema has also captured and shaped the Indian imagination in various languages. Hindi, Tamil, of course, we know, Andhra, Kannada as well, and Kerala, etc. Is there something there that we can hold out hope for? Or is that also, unfortunately, now part of the problem, which is triggering the...
They've come on the way. As I said in the Kerala Literary Festival, there must have been thousands of crores into cinema now. Because they know the
Explain
power
how
of
that
cinema.
happens.
Huh?
Tell us a little bit about how that process happens.
Crores of money, whether it's your Kashmir files and all those things are spreading propaganda. They want to create hate. The television, the censor. See, they've come into a censor where the youngsters should not think. They have gone that deep to stop them thinking. They can't express. The film will be banned. The film will not be allowed. There will be people with swords outside.
So,
Because money is involved. They hold, what is their soft targets. So they arm twist them to do it. They buy people. And I don't have problem with people selling themselves. I understand their weakness, but don't sell my country. My problem is simple. Don't sell my country. I can understand. I'm not fighting with you. I'll wait for you. Probably I can't come and save you out. But then don't sell the country. But they are doing it, it's very obvious.
So does it work with, are there new money bags which kind of want this kind of cinema, or is it older producers who now sense the public mood and have changed?
These films don't run, if you have observed. The F chief, a film on his biography, did not collect money only.
Yes.
But that is not important for them. They will send people to watch film. It is no more a conversation. It is more of a propaganda now. It is arm twisting. It is force. Money. And the so-called Kumars are earning money. I love this film is flopping. It's no point for them. They have looted enough money to power themselves.
So to pack the
To
cinema
pack
with
themselves.
these kind of...
And today, more than religion and caste, it is money power which is running politics. He's giving 20,000, he's giving 50,000. So they make you stay there or poor and then throw. There's no other way but to take it. This, with the spirit of fraternity, we need to understand and we need to intervene. That's the only hope. I'm one guy who doesn't lose hope.
No, there's no...
But this is going to continue. There's going to be more nonsense. Lot of things. Manipur is happening. Haryana is happening. It will continue to happen. It will continue. They'll become, when these Rakshasas are desperate, you can't even imagine what they will do. And we need to now sit, and it's high time that we have been so happy that you guys have started coming and talking about fraternity. We need to talk about it. We need to bring it into our life. We need to spread. That's the only way.
Yeah, so let's do the U-turn on our own. And after having set out the problem and all that, I want to kind of draw you to what are like the 3 good things that you can see on the horizon, which everybody in this room, you and me, can go back feeling a little good about, which is still there, which is, the glue that binds our nation together, fraternity. What would you say is the 3 good things, 2 good things, 1 good thing that still gives you hope? Is there an anecdote? Did a youngster come up to you to say something? Or is there something you see which is good? Is it the various forms of biryani?
Human being basically is good.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Few Rakshas around, that's okay.
Okay.
There's so many beautiful things in this world. I see this younger generation. Yesterday I was talking when I was preparing for that, and he's trying to be an IAS officer, and he said there was this sweeper who was collecting garbage, and he missed his house. And he said, "Sir, solpel banni." And that man was touched and said, "You called me sir?" That's the dignity we need today. And I see youngsters doing it. And these kids whom I'm seeing, the way, the energy they have, the ability to cry, to feel, to have given them a space to the exposure that, that they can feel the pain of a European war, they can feel the pain of partition when they were not born. And with that eyes, they are able to see Manipur. And that fraternity growing, I'm seeing, connecting to history. And one boy interestingly said that some wounds we should not forget, sir. I said, why? So that it will remain a lesson. And I have not induced him. I see when I see youngsters, when I see seed festivals happening in Kerala, and the youngsters coming down and trying to find out the indigenous seeds and the spirit they have, the relentlessness. And when I see somebody like Zubair continuing fighting, when I see Umar Khalid standing there and he writes a letter to me or Kunal Kamra and says, "They have not broken me yet. You guys hold on." And we are trying to tell him, hold on. That gives me hope. And that is the only way. There is no history of these Rakshasas having won a battle, whether it is Hitler, whether it is fascist. They are not even cultured. And naturally they will not have a future. But at every point of time they come up like this and they go. But we'll have to live with those wounds. And at this point of time, I see hope. And we should learn from what we let it happen. And if we can bring back that spirit of fraternity, and I say there will be beautiful humans on this earth. Yeah.
Okay, just one final thought before we open the floor for questions of our distinguished
I've been very serious, not entertaining. It's okay, not today.
We will try and change gears at some point. But sort of, you say that, and that's very good, that you don't need to be a politician to be political. Like it's to outsource the job of important business of politics to politicians is a mistake. In what way do you think citizens can and should be political?
Yeah, I'm telling you, these politicians come once in 5 years and go.
No, but the
So in this
elections
country, I'll tell you, in the elections, opposition parties don't win. The ruling parties lose. Okay?
So you have two losers.
No. We are political permanently. The politics is us.
Correct. So we should claim that.
So it is our money. We have asked them to take care. They come to beg. Okay, now beg votes. It's my money. That fellow's flight, his car, his glasses, everything, his mushrooms, is my money. Yaar. I'm letting him have to run the country. He has turned into a station master. It's okay. It's okay. But the point is, if this brotherhood, if this fraternity feeling, if this compassion, if this radical love of what Ambedkar speaks binds us, then you will not see these politicians. Then we will stand up. If there is one life is disturbed there, they know the country will stand up because they have touched one of our brother and sister. And that fraternity is a trust we give to the fellow human being, saying that there is another human being alive for you. If we become one with this, if we are bound with this feeling of fraternity and compassion and empathy, you will not see them. They are dividing and ruling, and they have made us look at like a cricket match. This fellow wins, this fellow wins, this fellow wins. No. If you choose the right one, right leader, you win. If you choose a wrong leader, you lose. There's nothing to do with their victory and losses. So that is what we should understand, and that is why, for a change, I'm more asking, I'm not blaming them, I'm blaming ourselves. We have to put our head in shame. It should start with our societies, with our children, with our brethren, with our reactions. It starts within us. Because if we come together as a fraternity, nobody can disturb us.
So true. So I'd like to throw the floor open for questions. Kindly raise your hand and identify yourselves. Wait for the mic to reach you. My colleague Shekhar will try and reach the mic out. And then please ask your question.
Good evening, sir.
You can sit. It will still be an outstanding question.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Good evening. Myself, Dr. Mansoor Pasha. So just wanted to remind the audience, today is August 6th, when the nuclear bomb was had on Hiroshima. So again, just a thought came in my mind. Again, the fraternity factor from the past to present, is it continuing? Was fraternity lacking in the past also? And it is echoing in the present. Thank you, sir.
You should understand war and ammunition and bombs. The politicians create and amass bombs and guns. The so-called rich fund them, give them food, but the poor go to the war. After the war, politicians take back their investments and their guns, whatever is left. The rich will start their businesses in the land, and the poor start counting how many they lost. This is the politics of the whole world. There has been people who have come and gone, and those Hiroshima, Nagasaki, fantastically reminded, those are certain wounds we are not supposed to forget. Those should become a lesson to us. Yes. See, every wound has a past, present, continuous tense only. But we'll have to fight, and we'll have to see that Hiroshima, Nagasaki, which is happening today. When you talk about nationalism. See, today morning when I was coming, in the evening when I was coming, I just looked into my Twitter handle and had asked people to come to this wire show of fraternity. And there's one fellow. Oh, St. John's Auditorium, your rice bag. He understands that. He has a problem with the name of the auditorium too. It's fine. Yes, it is dark times. It is difficult times. Yes, this wound which is painful today reminds us of that. And to say was fraternity there, France found its spirit of fraternity from the dark times only, which we are inspired. Yes, still hope. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Radha. Prakash, my question is very specifically about the film Fraternity, right? You guys talked about Kerala story, Kashmir files, whatever documentation. All of these movies that are coming out that a lot of money does seem to be going into. But is the industry also sort of investing in, big films, masala films, which come up with messages of fraternity or which do talk about, beyond like Hindu-Muslim hate or whatever, which do sort of encourage this feeling. I don't know if that makes sense.
Even films against those. Yeah, counter films are coming. And though I come from a fraternity, there are certain human beings there also who see it as business and big commercial tickets. But there are wonderful filmmakers like Vetrimaran, who, in like Jnanavel, who did Jai Bhim. A lot of films, there are discussions which are happening. A lot of younger generation kids are making films where they are questioning a lot of things. So there is a counter. Probably the money power is too big there, or they have already brought so much of hatred into the room. So the fight continues. But if you say, have they retorting? Yes, there has been films, there are a lot of films, especially Malayalam industry. You see a lot of films coming down. Yeah, and that is coming more from the younger generation. Like I saw recently, now I'm going to release a film called Photo, which a young filmmaker, 22-year-old filmmaker, has made on what happened during COVID. And I felt ashamed that, having experienced so much that I could not. A 22-year-old kid is asking that what sort of a country I need, and he's been able to talk politically. And recently there was a very interesting Kannada film, Daredevil Mustafa, which was inspired by Purnachandra Tejasvi, and they are 22 to 25-year-old kids. And they are countering it with the sort of world we need. And that's something very, which gives me a lot of hope.
Supplementary to that question about, there used to be these very set piece characters in films. There used to be a Habib Chacha, there would be a Rosie, they would be dropped into the storyline. Any chance that, just some subtle fraternity can.
Even then we had this problem. No, Rita would be a secretary.
Correct. But at least she's not shooting
No,
people.
no. But if you see
she's not
Malayalam
nice
films, if you
bagging.
Malayalam films, if you see, the primary character is a Muslim.
Correct.
Like Fault and Pepper. So
Yes.
they have no problem because there the
Their
ecosystem
demographic
works
is,
there.
Yeah. But Hindi has taken leave of its senses, clearly, the majority.
Good evening, sir. My name is Kojand Pani. Will uniforms will code bring in fraternity or will it break fraternity? Number one. Number two, will judiciary take sumoto action and invoke articles to tell the government what they should do about bringing in fraternity or do something? It's like what Supreme Court took sumoto action about Manipur. And number three is your finest film, Rangamartanda. There was no fraternity in the film. However, you try to bring in, there was a break in the fraternity. Please comment.
3 questions, 1 answer. Rangamartanda is just a film about an actor's life. What do you want fraternity in it, my dear friend? Can you explain me? Like, I misspelled it or something? There was nothing about fraternity. The film was not about fraternity. That is, you are talking about living together, a family. That is not fraternity we are talking about. We are talking about you have a daughter, but that daughter-aged girl in Manipur is raped. You react to it and say, that is my daughter too. I'm talking about that fraternity. You're talking about a father, daughter, son. We are talking on a broader perspective of being humans altogether. And the Supreme Court, you know in whose hands and who's deciding the F word today. This is a process. First, bring them down and everything will be fine. And I assure you, I have a hope they'll not be there after 2024.
Yeah, so my question was in the world where we exist, where oppression is systematic, how do we reconcile our privilege with fraternity? Like, I teach on the weekends, and I go to these children and I see them, and I want them to have the best, but I just can't reconcile what is it about me that makes me deserving of teachers that have degrees, that have gone to the premier institutions of India, and those children deserve me, an unqualified 17-year-old. So, how do I reconcile fraternity with the kind of guilt that I feel?
I didn't get you.
I think she's saying that how do you reconcile that there are these other problems of being privileged, but she thinks that her privilege, please correct me if I'm wrong, that her privilege has foisted her, somebody who's 17 and not trained to be a teacher, as a teacher on these children. So how do you reconcile that with the absence of fraternity? Am I right?
Come back again.
What's the conflict you're talking about?
Ah.
What's the central conflict? So in a country of fundamental unequals, we don't have an excellent record with practicing the E word either, equality. How on earth do you have fraternity? You're already oppressing me. So how am I going to be fraternal beyond a point? I think that's the question. Hey, what, Prakash? Okay, so from what I understand, and I think that's I think that's where Ambedkar, what Siddharth referred to in his opening, that when he speaks about liberty, equality, and fraternity being a triangle, one piece also goes, the other things become useless. So if everybody has freedom, but you don't have equality, so, it doesn't work like that. Then it becomes tyranny. It becomes a tyranny of the majority. So I think that's a problem. But how do you kind of weigh the three things and keep them together? And I think that's a fundamental question which Ambedkar raised and spoke of as well when he was talking about the constitution. That's a fundamental question that India faces, that a lot of our constitutional values will remain in the topsoil. And we'll actually have a completely Mad Hatter sort of situation like we're heading towards now, if we just allow non-constitutional values and unnatural things to come up. So I think what you've said is actually unanswerable. It's a very elemental point of a part of our Indian crisis, I think, at the moment, that with so much of inequality around, I'm not going to be fraternal to Mr. Adani, if there is so much of inequality. I cannot be fraternal to somebody who's not letting me drink water from the well. So I think there's a lot of important business to cover, but I think if we look at the Trinity and address each parts of that, I think makes sense. But you're right, your question is unanswerable, madam. Sorry,
My name is Arpuda Raj, and in our
Rajas you
anxiety
managed.
to reach $1 trillion economy, we are producing and exporting large amounts of guns, light weapons, and it is going to Africa and several continents, where the major wars are between state and non-state actors, where the governments are using arms against their own civilians. So I consider myself as a global citizen. As some of us have worked on the Arms Trade Treaty at the UN and achieved it. India has not ratified it yet. I'm really worried that the guns are exported on and people are dying in my name as an Indian. I'm sorry about that.
That's an expression of fraternity. And yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Prakash, thank you so much. I am a mother of a 21-year-old who goes to one of India's best institutes. And when I talk to him about politics, he says, I'd rather stay away. I have a question for you and many people here who are active socially. What are you going to do to draw the Indian middle-class youth back into polity? He doesn't care. He, she, they don't care. Number one. Number two, in the last few years, as a middle-aged woman, I've experienced younger women in my time were more active politically than they would dare to today. What is this room thinking about that?
That's because of the fear. Fear has become a national disease today. They whisper. It will take time to tell these youngsters to say that your fear is their power. So we who let it happen. So that's again why Nirdiganta is happening. That's exactly why I'm more boisterous. I keep continuing. A lot of threats. I know I'm at a lot of risks, but I want to take and be an example and to inspire, because we have let them down and they don't want to be a part of it. But this, we need to continue, pursue it and keep doing it. There's no other way. And I have found my politics to theatre, to the same age group what your son is, 20, 21, 18, 16, 17. And the very fact today we are talking to, going into colleges and talking, and the kids of second PU are coming out and trying to give them space, trying to give them a space where they can express what they want and to stand by them and to empower them. It is a process we need to take, and that is the path I have taken with my Nirtiganta and with my theatre or with my whatever activism I do. And fair enough that he is reluctant, but they will have to come because it is their future. It is their India. It is, we have to reimagine that future. And again, this reimagining, we have failed with our education system, with our value system. Child who is a student, is a victim, is in the hands of the victim, the parent, who is the byproduct of the same system. So we don't see, we are never teaching children of the relevance. It is not the job, it is not the government job, bank job, doctor. No, what is important on this earth is your relevance. So any system today we have, now we need to question that too, because I keep telling my example. I'm a 60s, 70s kid, and I see television in 82. I see computers in 94. Then I see cell phone. But my education system did not say 10 years later, there was no vision that something would come, that I would become relevant. I'm trying to become relevant. I'm trying to become relevant. All these will be discussed if there is a fraternity. Like it is our responsibility, it's your responsibility. So what my practicing fraternity is to have realized there are sons like yours around, and I'm trying to reach out to them. And this is a work which you have to pursue. You have to continue to do it. You have to continue to inspire, and you have to lose certain things, let go, and it's a tireless journey. It's a tiring journey, and that's what I'm doing now. I understand, and your son, or as a fraternity, a kid from Balehonnuru or Siddhapura is equal to me. He is my next generation, and I feel responsible that I have let this happen and that I have to take it in my hands and go ahead. Yeah.
Prakash, can I ask you a question here on your right? Let's stand up because you can't see anybody. All of us have different identities, and we have common identities also. You and I are Josephites, and we know uncle, auntie, grandpa, we want Josephites on the top. So we have our own affiliations. We are South Indian. As a Kannadiga, I would love a Kannadiga more than I would like a Tamilian. As a South Indian, I would like a South Indian more than I like a North Indian. When I live in New York, when I see an Indian of any brand, I would love him. Hey, I'm seeing an Indian. In North India, I would love a guy from South India and say, hey, yellow bande, ninu yellinda bande anta kelkotivi. So, I mean, we have different, I'm a doctor and you're a film fraternity man. I have my fraternity, I love my doctors, all right? And you like your film actors. Where is it that these different affiliations, which with natural love, I mean, as Indians, we love Indians more than we love somebody else, right? So, different religious, linguistic, regional, all these identities that we have. When is it that that love clashes with building a common identity and a common brotherhood and a common fraternity? When are the fault lines becoming a problem? Thank you.
Now, what's your problem? I don't understand. It's okay to be a Josephite, to be an Indian, to be a South Indian. It's okay to celebrate your clan. We're not talking fraternity in that aspect. If something happens in America, you should cry here. We're talking about fraternity as a human being, a quality, a compassion, an empathy for anything, for anybody beyond that. That doesn't mean you should not celebrate your identity. That doesn't mean you should not celebrate your speciality. Isn't it? Majority doesn't work. And I keep telling them, no, if majority was the truth, then crow should be the national bird, right? A cow should be a national animal. But why is a peacock? Why is a tiger? Because of its exquisiteness. You should celebrate diversity. You should celebrate yourself. It is perfectly fine to find an Indian and go hug when you're in New York. That is not a problem. Don't mistake that. Fraternity is Vishwamanava, to be a global citizen. To realize whether you are Josephite, whether you are South Indian, whether you are African, whether you are black, whether you are white, what Kabir said, what she was saying through the day, blood is the same. You shed, you make love. Isn't it? You cry. There's a child. That is what is fraternity is. That is the humus. The earth is not worried about which plant you put in. It can only empower you. Fraternity will empower that. It will let you celebrate your identities. You should celebrate your identities. There's nothing guilty about it, isn't it? Yeah.
Good evening, Prakash. My name is Timothy Franklin from the National School of Journalism. And this is a question about politics. Politics ideally should have been about persuasion, but it's the modern democratic,
Politricks, it has become.
yes, it is mobilization and not persuasion. And as somebody who has stood for elections, what lessons have you learned for those of us who, like The Wire, in the business of persuasion in the public square, and as a journalism school where we're training young people to be able to raise the level of public discourse? What have been your personal lessons in standing for elections, and how we can, introduce a more pure form of democracy where you can persuade people to vote for you rather than mobilize people to come and vote for you?
No. Standing for elections was not about winning and losing for me. I wanted to know first-hand information. I wanted to get in. I wanted to talk to people. Do you think I believed I'll win? And if that was the intention, I would be with any of the political parties, right? I've said citizens' voice. There is Veena here. There's a lot of people who have worked for me during the elections. But to understand my Bangalore constituency, to understand the people, to understand these guys' politics, I needed to go into it. And I took 8 months off and went into it. See, sometimes goals are not important. Destinations are not important. It is the journey which is very important. That's what chisels you. That's what Kuvempu says of Nirdiganta, When you think that is the horizon you want to reach, the minute you reach a horizon, you'll see another horizon altogether. And there's so many horizons you cross, and at one point of time, the horizon you started off will be your horizon. The joy is in the journey. The joy is in letting chiseled. So for me, it is for somebody else to see me win or lose. For me, it was not that. I'm more liberated because of that exercises. I'm more, because I dare to go in to find. I dare to spend my time. I dare to have sleepless. I dare to go and talk to every slum, every corner, every these things. I went. Not the way the other politicians do. And it is okay. It was not the rejection. I never felt rejected. Nor am I arrogant to say you lost me. No. When I count stars, I know how much ever I count is mine, not all. I live like that. And what I have learned, what I have been enriched within with that process, and which has more fueled me, more strengthened me to continue just asking. It was a great experience for me, a great learning and great unlearning too. Till then, because otherwise I would have been just a fellow who would be complaining. But I saw the process. I saw the process through. Yeah.
Just to kind of pick up from there, what are the things on persuasion that you may have learned on making a persuasive argument? Because we all live in polarized bubbles and filters. What is it that we can do to allow those things to bleed a bit, to make bridges? could you kind of, how does one reach somebody who you completely disagree with and he or she completely disagrees with you? So how does one try and make that conversation? Is it a conversation worth having? I think it is. But how
It's
do you
very
do
important.
that?
See,
It's a very important
they
part.
hate, you can't hate.
Exactly. So how do you reach out to?
I
before they come
continue to
in,
pursue.
how would you
I
pursue?
continue to talk to them. I have a lot of friends who are overcheddis inside. I have a lot of friends. I've lost a lot of friends. I've realized their colors, true colors. And I have certain other friends, but why do you still talk to him? I said, I still have hope. And they says, how are you so generous? I said, idiot. I value more than what you are believing in now, what you have sold yourself in now. What do you say? That generosity should be there, and you need to continue. That persuasiveness should not tire you. If you believe in it, if it is your way of life. Again, persevering is, you should not look at it as, I have to win over it. No. Be yourself. It's a very beautiful poem by ಎಲ್ಲ ಕೇಳಲಿ ಎಂದು ನಾನು ಹಾಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ ಹಾಡುವುದು ಅನಿವಾರ್ಯ ಕರ್ಮ ನನಗೆ ಕೇಳುವವರಿಹರೆಂದು ನಾವಲ್ಲೇ ಅದರಿಂದ ಹಾಡುವನು ಮೈದುಂಬಿ ಎಂದಿನಂತೆ ಯಾರು ಕಿವಿ ಮುಚ್ಚಿದರು ನನಗೆಲ್ಲ ಚಿಂತೆ.
Translate is also
He
about
says,
singing.
I don't sing because everybody is hearing me out singing. But I know some will hear. But even if somebody closes their ears, I don't mind because singing is what I'm supposed to do.
I think that last line should answer that. That's what we need to do, irrespective of the results, really. So, yes. Siddharth,
Right.
Most of the times, what you're telling them is actually reminding yourself.
it's note
Look
to
at
self,
it that
yeah.
way.
Hi, sir. Thank you for holding these dialogues about fraternity, and I think we also need somebody in the audience reminded about liberty and equality and all these ideas, their origin, impact in societies. But Prakash, sir, you talked about all these values, empathy, compassion, fraternity. These all originate. We used to have these moral lessons when we were growing up in schools. Where did we go wrong? That we just left it in our books. I did not take it back into our lives.
That is the question we're asking. When did we take the U-turn?
Yeah. And
Why did we take the U-turn?
how do we take it down? Like I have
Let's
two daughters.
let's together do it, no?
Right.
Persuade,
And
start discussions. Thank you, Wire, for starting it.
yeah,
You know? And start from your homes. Start from your people. Stop hating. Love. See what is the inequality around. Try to do something. Let go. We should lose certain things now. We should share certain things now. We should share time. We should share space. We should share your experience. Only then it will happen. And that will happen if you believe fraternity is important. I believe, that's why I'm spending a lot of my time, what I have earned and journey. I'm doing it because I have to set an example. I have to move. I have to inspire people to let go certain things. Yeah.
I would love to be the part of the lab where you show this practice.
Done.
Thank you.
You will be rattled in the lab.
We're lab rattled, not lab rat. Yes.
Raj, since you have been explaining a lot of things on the fraternity, everything, how do you really take up this challenge for the youngsters of the communalism in the colleges, schools?
Exactly, as I told you now, my children are traveling in colleges.
Yeah.
We are in Chikmagaluru, we are in Chandrayapatna, tomorrow in Shivamogga, and we are doing that. We are going into colleges and doing Kaviranga, and I'm looking at, in a few days, all the videos will be out. You will be amazed the way the children are coming back with this concept. It's so beautiful.
Absolutely.
We are doing it. I've started doing it. That's exactly what I was talking about, Nirdiganta.
So one more thing, this is just an opinion, since we had a different government.
Opinion, tell me.
Opinion. So there will be different government, and since it is a Congress government, just an opinion of your side. My opinion? Yeah.
Another political party. I am an eternal opposition party, my friend. I am a citizen of this country. And my great mentor, Mr. Lankesh's daughter is here, Kavita, and he only taught us whether your friend becomes a ruling party, you are bound to become the opposition party. Because that is our identity.
I'm also part of it, sir.
Thank you. Part, which part?
Lankesh ji.
May I?
Lankesh ji always said that, as a journalist, I am an eternal opposition party. I am a whip. Yeah.
Prakash, I have to thank you for introducing a new word to our discourse at a time when we only hear about Vishwaguru. For you to raise the importance of Vishwamanav
Vishwamanav is what?
is very, very.
Kuvempu said that to us. Nuru matada hotta turi, ella tatvadelle miri, nirdigantavagi eri. Just throw it and go beyond what Kabir said. Kabir is what today was so beautiful. She performed and she explained. Kabir has talked about Vishwamanav already. Basavanna spoke about it. Gandhi spoke about it. See, like fraternity, we are trying to again understand Vishwamanava now. They have said it long back. Vishwamanava is Kuvempu who said that to me. Vishwamanava, you be a citizen of the world.
Right.
He used that phrase, Vishwamanav.
And that
Vishwamanava Sandesha is there.
And that, in a sense, is the true sense of fraternity. I just want to share one small story or anecdote which brought home to me fraternity like nothing else. This goes back to 2002 when I was a reporter at the Times of India. And we were up to our neck in covering the Gujarat violence of February and March 2002. And if you recall, because whataboutery is the favorite way in which everybody tries to diffuse the seriousness of a crime. And at that time, when we were covering what was happening to the Muslims of Gujarat, there was no shortage of people who were saying, but what about the Kashmiri Pandits? What about the Kashmiri Pandits? And I remember this incident where, out of the blue, a small delegation of 4 or 5 Kashmiri Pandits came to see me at my office at Times of India in Delhi. And the gentleman, Sanjay Tikku, he was the leader of that small group. And they said, we want to give a statement. And I said, sure, what is it you have to say? And they said, we are Kashmiri Pandits. We have suffered, and our community has been targeted. People have left their homes, we've forced out of their homes. But we find it very, very painful that our suffering and our tragedy is being used to somehow minimize or justify what is being done to the Muslims of Gujarat. Please print our statement. And I thought that was such a powerful statement of fraternity.
Yeah, very true. They use your speed. And I thank you for that. And I think we should use that coinage on this dais. Let there be one Vishwaguru. Let's all become Vishwamanavas.
That's very true. Yes. Touche. So we'll bring this round of conversation right now to a close. And I request my colleague, our founding editor, Venu, to come and say thank you and more.
So you might as well have done it, So thank you for coming here and sitting through this intense session. Prakash, in between, I think he was feeling a bit guilty that he was not entertaining you. But I think there was a lot of entertainment in his seriousness also. And I promise that as part of the Wire editorial team, we will take forward this concept of Vishwamanavta. It's a big takeaway today. Thanks, Prakash, for that.
Wherever you're doing, I heard you're doing it down the south, Hyderabad, Chennai.
Yeah.
Call me, I'm there.
So we are taking this theme of fraternity, stroke Vishwamanavta next to other cities like Hyderabad, maybe Chennai. We want to sort of cover the south more comprehensively. And I just, before I wind up, just want to tell you that Bengaluru, Wire has a special relationship with Bengaluru. It's a kind of special connection because when we started the Wire, me, Siddharth Varadarajan, and our third partner, Siddharth Bhatia, who was in Bombay, we put together some 4,50,000 rupees as our initial contribution, and we started populating the Wire in terms of content. And it is from Bengaluru that some enlightened people who formed a media fund called Independent Public Spirited Media Foundation, led by Azim Premji, that we we got our first real funding, which kind of allowed us to scale up. So therefore, we have a very special relationship with Bengaluru. We got a lot of generosity and affection from Bengaluru. So really very thankful for the citizens of Bengaluru. Really thanks for that, and we'll take this to other cities. And before I end, I must also thank again, Siddharth has already spoken about it, the administration, St. John's management, which gave us this auditorium and helped us do this program, connect with our Bengaluru audience, as also Doris, of course, Siddharth has spoken about Doris.
Thank you so much. What, Chalon?